Hey, welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today. We have a special guest. Can you introduce yourself for everyone and tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, hi, good morning, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with you. My name is Tarlika Navarro, and I'm a circuit court judge in Orange County, Florida. That's Orlando, Florida. And I sit on the criminal division currently.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about your experiences before law school and yeah, just your path?
Well, it's certainly the non-traditional path. Before law school, I was actually backpacking around the world and teaching English in villages all around Central and South America to one-room schoolhouses. So anywhere to 4 years to 14, 15 years old, we had all of them in one classroom, and I was teaching English. And just really backpacking my way around the world and seeing and experiencing life. And then I did come back to America and I started working in real estate and I was selling homes. And then I went from selling homes to selling yachts and realizing how much money the transactional lawyers were making in my sales for the mega yachts. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to go to law school and do this myself. And then I'll be my own transactional lawyer and I can do these myself. And I ended up going to law school and falling in love with litigation and trial practice and mock trial and just criminal law in general, and never looked back.
And do you have like any advice for maybe students who don't follow like the traditional path but are really interested in going to law school and maybe are a little bit nervous?
Yes, absolutely. So don't listen to everyone around you if you don't have that traditional path that everyone does. The go to high school, always want to be a lawyer type thing. People ask me all the time, have you always wanted to be a judge? And no, and I don't, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I could be several other things hereafter. And I think if you follow your purpose, I think that's really important. So for law students going into law school, I really ask that they dig deep and ask themselves, why are they going to law school? What is your purpose? Do you want to help people? Do you want to help people with immigration issues? Do you want to help people get, out of jail, that type of thing? Do you want to do transactional work, and why? What is your purpose? So I think if you really stay focused on your purpose, it will be much easier navigating through law school and actually pushing through, because we all know how very hard work that is.
Yes, definitely. And was there like a particular point in your like education or career that you knew you wanted to become a judge?
So yes, in law school, like I said, I was a mock trial junkie and I was there, every night in practices. And I don't know if you've experienced it, but we were state champions. So we were there probably 4 to 5 hours a night, pretty much every, 5 days a week. And we had two coaches who were judges and they were just rock stars. And of course, I ended up taking their classes, and I actually had the opportunity. I booked one of the classes, so that meant you get to have an internship with that judge. So I had my first internship going into, I think, my third year in a law school, a Rising 3L. And she was just an incredible judge. She's now deceased, but she was really a pioneer in women advocating for domestic violence for women from the bench. And she was just an absolute genius when it comes to the law. And she inspired me to help women and to pay it forward. So that's what I do now.
It's really great. Yeah, it's always great to have mentors or people that can show you things. Now, when you become a judge, do they give you like a gavel or anything like that, like they do on TV? Um,
Yes, you see it in my background. That's a couple of the things behind the plates and the gavels, and you get a ton of things. I actually just had my second investiture up here in Orange County because I was in the 17th Judicial Circuit in Broward County before I was appointed up here in Orange County. And so I just had my second investiture, and I had a whole a room full of gifts, which is really kind from all the bar organizations. And yes, so you get many, many gavels.
And like, what is the process like to become circuit court judge?
Well, you could either be elected or you can be appointed by the governor here in the state of Florida. If you are appointed, you eventually have to run for reelection and be reelected by the people in your community. And I actually just ran for reelection and and was reelected without opposition in May of 2020. So I had the opportunity to be appointed in 2018, and then I ran a campaign and I was elected without opposition in 2020. And then I was appointed again to another circuit. And now I will again run in 2024 to retain my seat. So it's constant running here once you get on the circuit court bench every 6 years. It's a 6-year term.
And now, is there like a particular path you notice among your colleagues?
So I'd say traditionally we see a lot of lawyers in public service, so public defenders, assistant state attorneys, federal prosecutors, but that's certainly not an exclusive list. I think the governor certainly wants a broad bench who have done all types of law and practice and ran their own practice and all of that. I come to the table, at least I thought that that's what I brought to the table, was that I had been in private practice. I had run my own law firm. I knew how important it was for judges to be able to manage their docket effectively. I also was a previous to having my own law firm, I was an assistant state attorney in the 17th Judicial Circuit, where, I think that's an incredible experience for any law student coming out of law school to get into the state attorney's office or the public defender's office, because it allows you to try cases on your feet. You never know what you're going to go on. You're trial prepping all weekend for, let's say, 12, 15 trials on a Monday. So you really learn how to advocate on your feet quickly. So I think a traditional route would be maybe public service, but that's certainly not an exclusive. You can do it. If that's what you want to do, you do not have to take the traditional route, certainly.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Now, once you go through the process, what's a typical day in life like?
So it's very fast paced. I think it's faster than most would think. Being a judge, I take the bench at 8:30 in the morning and I go until about noon. Then I take a lunch break and I typically try to attend a bar function at lunch. So a bar function would be from 12 to 1:30, because we want to make sure that we're out there in the community, and certainly for lawyers and young lawyers and just the community at large. So I try to do that on my lunch break, and then I come back, and at 1:30 I normally have hearings in the afternoon, or I'm in trial. I have trial periods. So we do 3 weeks of trial and then 2 weeks of hearings, and then back to 3 weeks of trial. So if I'm in my trial week, I'll start again at 1:30 and go until 5. And then in my hearing weeks, same thing. I start at 1:30 and go till 5. And then after 5, we also have events that we try to attend to get out there in the community. Last night, I had a domestic violence awareness event where we were walking a mile in heels. It was called Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. So I attended that. So it's typically 12-hour days, just like law school, just like being a lawyer. It doesn't slow down once you get to the bench.
Well, that's great to hear all the things you're involved with in the community. And I know, like, as law students, when you're reading, you just see the final product. But I was wondering if you could tell us kind of like how the decision-making process works behind the scenes.
Well, on the circuit court bench, and certainly on the criminal bench, you follow the law. And that is it's really you're there to uphold the Constitution and to follow the law, regardless of how you feel, regardless of how that makes you, feel any which way, or the pressures that you're feeling from the media or anyone on the outside. We are there to follow the law, uphold the Constitution, no matter what. So that's really our guidepost. In criminal law and certainly in other areas of the law as well on the circuit bench. But that's what I do. I read the law. I make sure that I'm following the law just the way it's written. I try not to go into how I feel on any particular issue or what the legislature intended for the law to say. I like to follow the law as it is written.
Now, this is a three-part question, so bear with me, but could you tell us what is a clerkship, why students would want to consider applying for a clerkship, and what types of things they would get to work on as a clerk?
Okay, so technically, and I'll take the first part, what is a clerkship? The clerkship is once you get into law school, interning for a judge, and then that's called technically a clerkship. Prior to going into law school, let's say if you're an undergrad or if you're a rising 1L, like my intern right now, she's having an internship with a judge. But if she comes back next semester as a 1L, she will have a clerkship. I mean, it's absolutely prestigious. It looks great on the resume, but besides that, you're working with the judge in chambers from the bench. So my interns or my clerks, they sit on the bench with me. We go through the thought process. We go through the analysis. We go through talking about the law. I like to play devil's advocate with them a lot from both sides of the issue. And they kind of I hope that they walk away with understand how a judge thinks and what a judge needs to know in order to rule, because once they get out there in private practice or in practicing law, then they can write motions with that in mind. So my clerkship with my judge was an invaluable experience. I taught me, how a judge thinks, how a judge rules, what a judge needs to consider in order to make a decision. So if you get the opportunity to clerk with a judge, you absolutely should do so.
Awesome. Now, I noticed the application requirements include like a resume, a transcript, recommendation letters, and a cover letter. I was wondering if you had any advice for students about writing clerkship cover letters.
Yes, I do. I've seen them. I've seen so many cover letters that just went wrong. I think the shorter the better, and tell me what you want out of the clerkship. So what type of law do you want to practice? Why do you want to sit with me in particular? Customize your cover letter to that judge. If an intern wants to sit with me as a clerk, I would hope that they would know a little bit about my background, a little bit of what I stand for. I really like when clerks come and they interview with me and they know about some of the stuff that I'm doing out in the community and some of the platforms that I speak on, which is wellness. I speak on wellness a lot. So typically my clerks come in because that's what they want. They want that type of an experience with that type of a judge, or they want to sit in any of the various divisions that I've sat in, such as domestic violence, family law, therapeutic courts, because I ran the drug court program, the juvenile drug court program, and the adult drug court program in Broward County. So a lot of my clerks wanted that specialized field. And now I would hope that they would say, I want to sit on the criminal bench with you, and I want to learn about that very specific area of the law.
Going a little bit onto that as well, is there anything students should avoid doing when on their clerkship? So like any mistakes that you see or things that maybe students want to look out for?
Yes, I think that you should always be on time. I'm a stickler to being on time and being on the bench. Being a judge, you have to be on the bench at the time that you start. So you can't be late as a clerk and make your judge late. What else do I see? Grammar issues. I've seen several cover letters with grammar issues. I hope that you have other people proofreading your resume and your cover letter before you send that to the judge. I've been blessed to have a tremendous interns and clerks that, they always surprise me and I always learn from them. So I don't have a lot of war stories on bad clerks, because I do interview you and you do need to come recommended by someone. Taking a clerk, it's a big deal. It's something that I don't take lightly, because I want to foster that relationship. And it's not just about the clerkship, it's about the future. It's about the rest of their lives. All of my interns and my clerks, we stay in touch even after law school through bar prep, their first year in the law firm or in public service at the prosecutor's office or the public defender's office and thereafter. So it's really a lifetime relationship. So I really want to make sure that I'm choosing wisely. So just be on time, be kind, be courteous, and no grammatical errors, please, in the cover letter. And, it's very important that you're thoughtful to my staff. I watch the way that you treat my judicial assistant because she's family to me, as well as my bailiff and my clerks and everyone that really is my courtroom family. So I pay attention to how you're treating people around you.
Oh, that's really great to hear. And yeah, there's lots of free grammar things available online. So always make sure to run stuff through that. And going on to our last segment, I'm so sad that our time is almost coming to a close. But I saw you co-chaired the Lawyer Wellbeing Institute, and I know well-being is very hard to keep up sometimes with being very busy in law school or with other things. And so I was wondering what you could kind of tell us first, like what is well-being?
Lawyer well-being is just being balanced and feeling in control and really self-mastering your emotions. Because I had no idea when I went into law school. First year law school was just such a whirlwind, and I'm sure, Velo, that you understand that you did your first year, and everyone's first year is the same, and kind of those friends that you make and that you sit by, you'll never forget, and you'll always be friends with them. I mean, my two study partners are my dear, dear friends to this day. And you go through kind of like that boot camp. So I try to prepare law students and even young lawyers, because you'll start seeing there's a reoccurring theme with this craziness. First year law school is crazy. First year law practice is crazy. First year at the state attorney's office is crazy. First year at the public defender's office is crazy. First year as a judge is crazy. So you kind of learn self-mastery of your own emotions during that crazy time is really well-being. So I try to teach students, law students and young lawyers, how to balance, really work-life balance, health practices, physical well-being. I trained as an athlete. I went to boarding school at IMG Academy here in Florida. So I have an athletic mentality, where it's very important to kind of have that daily practice, that morning routine, that evening routine that sets you up for success. And I try to make my interns and my clerks top performers. And I think that they are top performers once they clerk with me.
And so, like, what are some things that law students can do to promote well-being?
Yeah, so it's great what's going on around the country with law schools. They're really prioritizing young lawyers' health and the students' well-being, and they're doing all types of mental workshops, well-being workshops where, let's do yoga in the yard, let's do breathing exercises, let's talk about meditation, let's talk about visualization. I think visualization is really important for lawyers, whether it be moot court, mock trial, any type of argument, trial prep. Visualization is really going to walk you through that process and get you ready for it. So I teach visualization a lot to my law students, and just teaching them how to really find a flow that allows them time off. Because if you look at your brain neurologically speaking and cognitive ability to comprehend what you're retaining, if you're cluttered in your brain and you don't take that time for yourself to really clear out your thinking, you cannot absorb information. So that's what I try to teach my law students. You can't just cram 24 hours a day. It's not going to benefit you in the long run in life or on essays or in tests or any of that. You have to kind of have that balance throughout law school and your law practice so you can serve the people around you. And that's really what you are as a lawyer. You're in service, no matter who you're serving, no matter who your client is. That's what you're there to do, which is to serve others.
Awesome. And visualization sounds really great. And I know it's like great to kind of like, make baby steps towards your goals as well and everything. And, once you've achieved, admission to law school and graduated, do you have any tips for continuing to promote well-being as a practicing lawyer?
Absolutely. At St. Thomas University, my alma mater, where I teach, we start at the orientation the orientation day, we start to teach them mental health and well-being so it becomes a part of their routine. And then I hope that they take that throughout law school practice and then into their first year associate job or their first year anywhere else. So yes, absolutely. I hope that young lawyers take the time, and I think they are. I think bar organizations are really getting involved with mental health, and then the stigma, I hope, is being addressed. That of course lawyers are drained and they're exhausted. What we do as lawyers is we are paid to take other people's problems and to make them our problems. And what I try to teach young lawyers and my law students is to protect yourself. These really aren't your problems. They're their problems. You're going to solve the problems for them. So it's really about getting prepared for war, or getting prepared for, let's say, the Super Bowl or a tennis match or a golf game. You're really mentally every day, you need to prepare yourself to take on those problems, but to not let that affect you.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate all your advice.
Of course, Velo, it's always an absolute pleasure. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to watching you prosper.